The holographic display aboard the Vraxian warship, Eternal Dominance, painted Captain Elena Reyes's research vessel in shades of blue and green, its modest size drawing dismissive clicks from the alien crew. High Commander Thrix, his scaled skin reflecting the ambient light of the bridge, watched the human ship with 6 eyes that betrayed nothing but contempt. Fascinating, Thrix's mandibles clicked as he addressed his senior staff. The reports of this sector were accurate. These humans venture into deep space with vessels that wouldn't qualify as pleasure craft in our empire. His secondary arms gestured at the hologram while his primary ones remained folded in a position of authority. The Quantum Horizon, Earth's most advanced research vessel, continued its steady course through the Kuiper Belt, its crew of 30 unaware they were being observed. Captain Reyes stood at her station, dark eyes focused on the latest quantum field readings her team had collected. She brushed a strand of silver-streaked black hair from her face, frowning at the subtle anomalies in their measurements. "Engineering, are you seeing these fluctuations?" she asked, tapping her console to highlight the concerning data. "They're not matching any known natural phenomena in our database." Chief Engineer Raj Patel's voice came through clear on the ship's comm system. "Confirmed, Captain. The quantum signature suggests artificial origin, but it's unlike anything we've encountered before." Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Dominance, Thrix's science officer, Third Eye Zeet, delivered his analysis. "The vessel appears to use primitive fusion propulsion, High Commander. Their sensor capabilities are rudimentary at best. They haven't detected our presence despite our proximity. What the Vraxians couldn't know was that humanity had long since moved beyond traditional scanning methods. The quantum entanglement sensors aboard the Quantum Horizon had already detected their presence, catalogued their ship's capabilities, and transmitted everything back to Earth through channels undetectable by conventional means. "Dr. Wong," Elena called, connecting to Earth's Defense Command. "We have visitors. Sending you the data now." Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Wong studied the incoming information with growing interest. The quantum defense grid he'd spent the last decade developing would soon face its first real test. "Received, Captain. Maintain current protocols. Let them underestimate us." Thrix made his decision with the casual arrogance of someone who had never known defeat. "This sector will make an excellent addition to the Empire. These humans, with their quaint technology, will barely register our conquest. Prepare the fleet." In the following hours, Elena watched as the alien ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, believing they had remained undetected. She allowed herself a small smile. "They took the bait, Dr. Wong. Just like you predicted." "The arrogance of advanced civilizations," Wong replied, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. "They always assume that if they can't detect advanced technology, it must not exist." The Quantum Horizon's true purpose had never been research alone. It was humanity's early warning system, designed to appear primitive while housing some of Earth's most advanced technology. As Elena initiated their return sequence to Earth, she couldn't help but feel a mixture of anticipation and concern for what was to come. "All hands," she announced shipwide, "we've made first contact, though our visitors don't realize it yet. They'll be back, and when they return, humanity will be ready. Let's head home." As the Quantum Horizon altered course for Earth, its quantum wake signature deliberately mimicking older fusion technology, Elena thought about the coordinates she'd seen on the alien vessel's navigation system. The Vraxian fleet would arrive in force, expecting to find an easy conquest. Instead, they would encounter humanity's greatest defense system, one that turned their own arrogance into a weapon against them. "Dar." Wong's voice came through one final time before they began their journey home. "Captain, the quantum grid is already adapting to their energy signatures. By the time they return, we'll be ready to give them a lesson in humility they won't soon forget." Elena looked at the stars through her viewport, knowing that the next time she saw them, they would be witness to a confrontation that would change the course of human history. The Vraxians would learn, as others surely would after them, that appearance and reality were often very different things when it came to human ingenuity. "Let them come," she whispered to herself. "We'll be ready." Dr. Marcus Wong stood before the curved wall of holographic displays in Earth's Quantum Defense Command Center, his weathered hands moving through the air as he fine-tuned the invisible web that now encased the planet. Behind him, teams of engineers and scientists worked in focused silence, preparing for what they all knew was coming. "Status report on grid node 17, he called out, his eyes fixed on a subtle fluctuation in the quantum field. Lieutenant Jade Harrison's voice responded from the lunar station. "Node 17 is showing 98% synchronization, Dr. Wong. The quantum entanglement is holding steady across all channels." Through the center's panoramic windows, the Singapore skyline glittered in the early morning sun. Wong allowed himself a moment to appreciate the view, knowing that the fate of those lights, and all of humanity, might soon rest on the success of his life's work. The quantum defense grid was an elegant weapon, if you could call it a weapon at all. It didn't destroy, it contained. It didn't attack, it redirected. And most importantly, it was completely invisible to any civilization that relied on conventional scanning methods. Admiral Zhang Wei entered the command center, his presence immediately drawing the attention of the staff. "Dr. Wong, the Vraxian fleet has been detected passing the orbit of Neptune. 16 vessels, including what appears to be their flagship." Wong nodded, pulling up the fleet's formation on his primary display. "They're moving exactly as Captain Reyes predicted. The Vraxians are nothing if not consistent in their arrogance." The Admiral's face remained impassive, but his voice carried a note of concern. "And you're certain they can't detect the grid?" "The quantum field operates on principles they haven't discovered yet," Wong explained, manipulating the holographic display to show the intricate web of entangled particles surrounding Earth. "To their sensors, we're practically defenseless. Just a primitive species with basic fusion technology and rudimentary particle weapons." In lunar orbit, Lieutenant Harrison and her team monitored the grid's power distribution. The quantum nodes pulsed with invisible energy, each one linked to the others in a complex dance of subatomic particles. "Dr. Wong, we're detecting increased tachyon emissions from the Vraxian fleet. They appear to be conducting long-range scans." "Let them look," Wong replied, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see." Aboard the Eternal Dominance, High Commander Thrix reviewed the scanned data with growing confidence. 16 ships against a world that hasn't even developed basic shield technology, he remarked to his bridge crew. "Almost unsporting of us." His tactical officer, Fourth Claw Zin, displayed the humans' planetary defense systems on the main viewport. "They have approximately 3,000 primitive orbital satellites, High Commander. Most appear to be for communication and weather monitoring. Their military installations are concentrated in these areas." The display highlighted several spots around the globe. "Their most advanced weapons?" Thrix inquired, almost as an afterthought. "Crude nuclear devices and particle beam emitters. Nothing that could penetrate our shields." Zin's mandibles clicked in amusement. "They don't even appear to have detected our approach." Back in Singapore, Wong watched the Vraxian fleet's formation with growing anticipation. Every scan they performed, every analysis they ran, only reinforced their belief in their technological superiority. It was exactly what he had planned for. "Admiral," Wong said, turning to Zhang Wei, "I recommend we begin evacuating non-essential personnel from major coastal cities. Not because I expect the Vraxians to breach our defenses, but because what's about to happen might be unsettling to witness." The Admiral nodded, already moving to implement the suggestion. "How long until they're in range?" "At their current speed?" Wong consulted his displays. 4 hours, 17 minutes. "They're being cautious, but not cautious enough." Lieutenant Harrison's voice came through again. "Dr. Wong, we're detecting power spikes in their weapons systems. They're beginning their battle preparations." Wong took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Humanity's first major interstellar conflict was about to begin, and their opponents didn't even realize the true nature of the battle they were about to fight. Send word to all grid stations, he commanded. Initiate final calibration sequences. When the Vraxians arrive, I want every quantum node operating at peak efficiency. He paused, looking at the tactical display showing the approaching fleet. They think they're about to demonstrate their superiority. Instead, they're about to learn a lesson about the dangers of underestimating humanity. As the Vraxian fleet drew closer, the quantum grid hummed with invisible power, ready to turn the aliens' own energy against them. In 4 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity was far more than it appeared to be. High Commander Thrix stood at the command center of the Eternal Dominance, his 6 eyes fixed on the blue-green world growing larger in the main viewport. Earth's moon hung like a pale sentinel in the background, seemingly as defenseless as the planet it orbited. The Vraxian fleet moved into attack formation, their ship's energy weapons charging with a familiar hum that had heralded the fall of countless civilizations. Begin the standard conquest protocol, Thrix ordered, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. Disable their primitive satellites first, then target their largest military installations. I want their surrender transmitted within the hour. The first shots fired by the Vraxian fleet streaked toward Earth's orbital satellites. But instead of the expected explosions, something extraordinary happened. The energy beams seemed to disappear into invisible barriers, creating ripples in space that shouldn't have existed. High Commander, Fourth Claws In called out, confusion evident in his voice, our weapons, they're having no effect. In the Quantum Defense Command Center, Dr. Wong watched as the grid absorbed and redistributed the Vraxian attack energy. Lieutenant Harrison, status of the quantum nodes. All nodes operating at optimal levels, Dr. Wong, Harrison reported from the lunar station. The grid is adapting to their weapon frequencies faster than expected. Energy absorption rate at 97%. Admiral Zhang Wei stood beside Wong, watching the tactical displays with keen interest. They're about to try something bigger, he predicted. Their type always does when the first attack fails. As if on cue, High Commander Thrix's voice boomed across all frequencies, automatically translated by Earth's communication systems. Primitive species of Earth, your pitiful defenses cannot withstand the might of the Vraxian Empire. Surrender now, or face complete annihilation. Wong allowed himself a small smile. Admiral, shall we show them our response? Zhang Wei nodded. Proceed, Doctor. Let's educate our visitors. The quantum grid shifted frequencies, and suddenly the Vraxian fleet found their ships enclosed in a web of invisible energy. Their engines strained against forces they couldn't detect, let alone understand. High Commander Thrix watched in growing horror as his ship's power readings began to fluctuate wildly. Impossible, he snarled, all 4 arms gesturing frantically at his command staff. Launch all available weapons. Full power to the engines. Break us free of whatever primitive trap they've deployed. The Vraxian fleet's response was spectacular but futile. Every energy weapon they fired was caught in the quantum web, their power absorbed and redirected. The more they struggled, the stronger the containment field became, feeding off their own energy. Lieutenant Harrison's voice carried a note of triumph. Dr. Wong, the grid is now operating at 115% capacity, drawing excess power directly from their weapons. We could probably power Singapore for a year with what they're feeding us. In the Eternal Dominance's command center, panic began to set in. Ships that had conquered countless worlds now hung helpless in space, their mighty engines useless against forces they couldn't comprehend. Thrix's exoskeleton had taken on a pale hue, a sign of extreme stress in his species. High Commander, Third Ivzit reported, his voice trembling, we're detecting energy patterns that defy our understanding. The humans, they're using technology that our sensors can't even properly analyze. Wong's voice transmitted clearly to every ship in the Vraxian fleet, his tone calm and measured. High Commander Thrix, this is Dr. Marcus Wong of Earth's Quantum Defense Command. Your ships are now contained within our defensive grid. Every action you take against us only strengthens our position. I suggest you reconsider your options. Thrix's response was a roar of frustration. What trickery is this? What kind of primitive species develops quantum manipulation technology without even having proper shield generators? The kind of species, Admiral Zhang Wei answered, that learned long ago not to advertise its true capabilities. The kind that understands that appearing harmless can be the greatest defense of all. In lunar orbit, Lieutenant Harrison monitored the grid's power distribution with growing satisfaction. The Vraxian fleet is completely contained, Dr. Wong. Their ship's power systems are starting to overload from their attempts to break free. Should we begin power siphoning procedures? Proceed, Lieutenant. Let's not waste all that useful energy they're so generously providing us. The mighty Vraxian fleet, which had expected an easy conquest, now found itself trapped in being slowly drained of power. High Commander Thrix, his pride shattered along with his preconceptions, faced a choice he had never imagined having to make. Dar. Wong, he finally transmitted, his voice heavy with defeat, perhaps we should discuss terms. Wong exchanged glances with Admiral Zhang Wei before responding. We're always open to diplomatic solutions, High Commander. Though next time, you might want to try those before attempting to conquer us. As the quantum grid maintained its invisible hold on the Vraxian fleet, the stars twinkled indifferently overhead, bearing witness to a lesson that would soon spread throughout the galaxy: humanity was not to be underestimated. Admiral Zhang Wei stood in Earth's orbital diplomatic station, watching the contained Vraxian fleet through the reinforced viewport. The mighty warships hung motionless in space, their once threatening forms now looking almost delicate within the invisible quantum web. Behind him, Dr. Wong's holographic displays showed the continuous power drain from the alien vessels, their energy being systematically harvested and stored in Earth's growing quantum battery network. Your species, High Commander Thrix's voice crackled through the communication system, is unlike any we have encountered before. The Vraxian leader had requested a face-to-face meeting, though he remained aboard his flagship, now permanently locked in Earth's orbit. Perhaps, Zhang Wei responded, his voice carrying decades of military experience, that is because you never bother to look beyond surface appearances. He gestured to the holographic representation of Thrix floating before him. Tell me, High Commander, how many other civilizations have you dismissed as primitive before attempting to conquer them? Thrix's mandibles clicked in what might have been embarrassment. You must understand, Admiral. Everything we observed about your world suggested a species barely capable of interplanetary travel. Your satellites, your visible defenses, your energy signatures were exactly what we wanted you to see, Dr. Wong interrupted, stepping forward. Your empire's reputation preceded you, High Commander. We've been preparing for this encounter since we first detected signs of your expansion into neighboring systems. In lunar orbit, Lieutenant Harrison coordinated with her team as they continued to study the Vraxian technology. Every attempt by the alien ships to restore their power systems only fed more energy into Earth's quantum grid. Dar. Wong, she reported, we're detecting unusual readings from their secondary reactors. They appear to be attempting to initiate some kind of emergency protocol. Wong's fingers danced through the holographic interface, adjusting the quantum field. Nice try, High Commander, he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. But we've already adapted to that particular frequency. Thrix's exoskeleton darkened further, a sign of deep distress. How? How did you develop such technology without it being detected? Our long-range scans showed no evidence of quantum manipulation capabilities. Admiral Zhang Wei moved closer to the viewport, his reflection overlaying the distant image of the eternal dominance. High Commander, humanity learned long ago that true strength lies not in displaying power, but in knowing when to conceal it. While your empire expanded through force, we expanded through understanding. While you developed visible weapons, we developed invisible defenses. The Admiral's words were interrupted by a sudden alert from Lieutenant Harrison. Admiral, we're detecting multiple quantum signatures approaching from the direction of the Kuiper Belt. Captain Reyes and the Quantum Horizon are returning, and they've brought company. The view screen shifted to show Elena Reyes's vessel leading a small fleet of ships that had been hidden throughout the solar system. Each one had been disguised as a simple research vessel or mining platform, but now they revealed their true nature as advanced quantum-enabled warships. You see, High Commander, Zhang Wei continued, what you thought was a primitive research vessel was actually part of humanity's rapid response fleet. Captain Reyes's mission wasn't just to detect your presence, it was to activate our entire defensive network. Elena's voice joined the conversation. Admiral, Quantum Fleet reporting ready. All ships synchronized with the defense grid. Thrix's hologram showed him physically recoiling at this new revelation. Your deception, it's beyond anything we imagined possible. The Vraxian Empire has never been defeated. Wong finished for him. Never encountered a species that could match your technological prowess. Or never bothered to consider that appearance and reality might be two very different things. Admiral Zhang Wei raised his hand, silencing further discussion. High Commander, let me be clear about your situation. Your fleet is contained. Your weapons are useless. Your power systems are under our control. But more importantly, you've given humanity something invaluable, confirmation that our defensive strategy works. Lieutenant Harrison's voice carried clear satisfaction as she reported, Admiral, we're detecting similar quantum signatures from all major population centers on Earth. The planetary defense network is now fully visible and operating at maximum capacity. The image before them shifted to show the full extent of humanity's quantum web, now glowing with visible energy as it encased not just the Vraxian fleet, but the entire Earth. What had appeared to be a defenseless planet was now revealed as a fortress of astronomical proportions. Now then, Admiral Zhang Wei said, his voice carrying the weight of authority, shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? And perhaps, if you're willing to learn from this experience, we can talk about a different kind of relationship between our peoples. As Thrix's hologram flickered with the alien leader's agitation, Zhang Wei allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology, but its patience in waiting for the right moment to reveal it. Junior Ambassador Olivia Patel walked through the crystalline corridors of the newly constructed Earth Vraxian Diplomatic Center, her footsteps echoing against surfaces designed to accommodate both human and Vraxian aesthetics. 3 months had passed since the failed invasion, and what had begun as a near-catastrophic conflict was transforming into something unprecedented in the galaxy's history. The quantum principles you've developed, High Commander Thrix said, falling into step beside her with his characteristic six-legged grace, they challenge everything we thought we knew about space-time manipulation. His once intimidating presence had softened over the weeks of negotiations, though his impressive height still required Olivia to look up to meet his eyes. That's precisely why we're here today, Olivia replied, adjusting the collar of her diplomatic uniform. Humanity's approach to technological development has always been unique. We learned early to value wisdom over raw power. They entered the Grand Conference Chamber where Dr. Wong and Admiral Zhang Wei were already seated, along with Captain Elena Reyes and Lieutenant Harrison. On the Vraxian side, Third Eye Zete and several other high-ranking officials clicked their mandibles in greeting. The Vraxian High Council has reviewed your proposal, Thrix announced, taking his place at the table. The concept of a joint research initiative is intriguing. Though some members still struggle with the idea of collaborating with a species we once thought primitive. Olivia activated the holographic display at the center of the table, showing the proposed joint facility that would orbit between Earth and Mars. Perhaps that's exactly why this collaboration is so important, High Commander. Both our species have something to learn from this encounter. Dar. Wong leaned forward, his eyes bright with scientific curiosity. We've already discovered that Vraxian quantum theory complements our own in unexpected ways. Your understanding of tachyon dynamics, combined with our quantum manipulation techniques, could revolutionize space travel. And defense, Lieutenant Harrison added from her position near the window, where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the black of space. The incident proved that neither of our species has a monopoly on innovation. Captain Reyes, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. My crew has been studying the sensor logs from our first encounter. The way your ships mask their energy signatures, it's brilliant. Different from our approach, but equally effective. Thrix's mandibles moved in what the humans had learned was a gesture of pride. Yet it was your deception that proved superior, Captain. You played your role perfectly. The art of appearing harmless, Olivia said with a diplomatic smile, is one humanity has mastered over centuries of our own internal conflicts. But now we have a chance to move beyond deception and competition. She gestured to the holographic plans floating above the table. This facility represents more than just a research center. It's a statement to the galaxy that strength can be found in cooperation as well as confrontation. Admiral Zhang Wei nodded in agreement. The quantum defense grid that caught your fleet, High Commander, can be adapted to protect both our worlds. Shared defense, shared knowledge, shared progress. And shared consequences, Thrix added, his tone serious. We've already received inquiries from other empires about this shift in power dynamics. Olivia's expression remained composed, but her voice carried conviction. Then let them inquire. Let the galaxy see that when the Vraxian Empire and humanity come together, we choose collaboration over conquest. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the assembled leaders. Through the vast windows, they could see the Eternal Dominance, now peacefully docked alongside human vessels, its weapons powered down, its crew engaged in cultural exchange programs. There will be challenges, Thrix said finally. Centuries of imperial expansion cannot be undone in a day. No, Olivia agreed, but they can be transformed. Your empire was built on the principle of seeking out and absorbing the strongest. Well, you found us. But instead of conquest, you discovered partnership. Dr. Wong pulled up another holographic display, this one showing the combined theoretical work of human and Vraxian scientists. Look at what we've achieved in just 3 months of cooperation. The quantum barriers we're developing together are more advanced than anything either of our species created separately. Lieutenant Harrison added, and the Lunar Defense Station has become a joint training facility. My team learns as much from your officers as they teach. Then let us make it official, Thrix declared, rising to his full height. The Vraxian Empire formally proposes an alliance with humanity, based not on dominance, but on mutual respect and shared advancement. Olivia stood as well, her height insignificant next to the Vraxian leader but her presence equally commanding. On behalf of Earth's United Council, I accept. As the others rose to witness the historic moment, Olivia couldn't help but smile at the irony. The Vraxians had come to conquer a seemingly primitive world, only to find themselves part of something far greater, a partnership that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of true power. To the future, she said, using the traditional Vraxian gesture of respect. To understanding, Thrix responded with the human custom of a nod. Outside, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, its quantum defense grid now visible as a shimmering web of protection, no longer hidden but standing as a testament to the principle that had guided humanity's development. True strength lies not in the power you display, but in the wisdom to know when to reveal it.